consultant do a little bit of everything. So just like getting smart on like the different pieces. So I think for you all, as you look at consulting opportunities, don't feel like you have to decide, oh, I can only do one or the other. Keep your options open because you never know where something might lead you.
Yeah, to add on to that, I was actually staffed on a strategy project as an analyst, consulting analyst. So it's kind of interesting to see that difference and the bridge against that. But
Always following up on that, sorry.
No, go share.
Like, I guess when you were working on the strategy project, what is like the differences that you noticed in like, because I know you're a management consulting currently.
so what I realized was the strategy consultant was building up the business cases, kind of adding all the prices to the project plan they were trying to implement, while I was like in the room taking maybe minutes for a client and like sending them out to the team once the meeting's over and stuff like that, or maybe updating PowerPoint. So those were my differences.
Culture can be a little different too.
Yeah, culture, yeah, it could be a little bit more intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And just to add, I mean, one of the things I'm observing joining Salesforce is that, and they are really, like I would say, way ahead in the industry. Not just because I joined, I'm experiencing that coming from one company to other. Is that the whole world right now is moving towards the outcomes. Okay? Earlier, the consulting was okay, X number of people, these many hours, this is the roadmap. So I'll give you an example, like for example, Salesforce has product, and many of them are CRM product, but we also do manufacturing product, revenue, which is finance, so it sells everything. And what of late we started selling is that this is your outcome. Okay? Who's doing it? How many people are doing? Like you buy. Normally, what happens with me, if you're a technology consultant, like any ERP, SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, etc., generally the industry thumb rule is that you spend $1 on the software, you spend $3 on the services, like right? So that's the general rule. But that is now shrinking because a lot of the 3x was because it was more laborious by the people, taking the notes, updating the PowerPoint. So those things are collapsing now. So the companies want to share the benefit with the client. Right? So clients are not necessarily willing to pay those hours because now they can see that there is efficiency. So everything is moving literally towards the outcome. So you have to think it through that what I'm going to do to accelerate the outcome. I'm going to contribute towards the outcome in most efficient way, right? And that's the reason I said use AI, because you would know them, right? What is the most efficient way, right? Instead of doing certain things, maybe you can do it by just press of a button. That will become your superpower.
That's very, very true, especially in today's day and age. So going on to like the last question, and it's a big one. Looking back, what would you tell your college self today? So what do you wish that you had known when you guys were in college? And for this one, I would like to start off with
Yeah, so I remember when I was like 20, 21, I thought I knew everything. You don't know anything, so that's one thing. But I was actually thinking about the point on imposter syndrome. One thing that I would tell myself is, if you made it here, right, like maybe you're taking a class that's so hard and you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to pass this exam. If you can make it into the class and you made it into the school, I'm sure you'll pass. So that's one thing. But I think what I would tell my college self is take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you. Like when I was in college, it was COVID, but Rutgers provides so many like career support opportunities. So like I think they have a whole office of career management. Like talk to those people. They're gonna help you. Talk to your professors. I wish I could go back and make better relationships with my professors. I remember in the beginning of college, I would skip class. I learned very quickly that was not going to work for me, so I had to change that. But always do your best. There's this book that I've read. It's called The Four Agreements, and I think that book can be applied to any area of your life, right? Whether it's personal or professional. So some of the principles are always do your best. Don't take anything personally. There's two more, but you know, definitely read it. So
Don't assume. Don't
y-
assume.
don't make assumptions.
And keep your words.
Yeah, keep your word. So that's a good one. But yeah, just always try your best and seize the opportunity.
Josephine?
Yeah. I would tell myself that you are your own best advocate. Kind of like Prakash was saying, like you're marketing yourself all the time. When I started at Deloitte, everyone was like, there were two things. The answers to questions were always, it depends, or you own your own career. I'm like, what do you mean I own my own career? Like I'm a business technology analyst. I started here. Where is my project? Like, what do you mean? What does that mean? And they literally meant like you go and talk to people, build your network, talk to people, learn about what they do, tell people what you're interested in, and try to get yourself on a project for what you're interested in, and then maybe you learn, oh, you actually really don't like that. Then you pivot and go do something totally different. And I feel like I've had many different jobs throughout my 10 years here. So I wish I knew earlier. Advocating for myself is like the most important thing, and I think at the time I felt weird, like being like, oh well, I really want to go do this, and like I'm gonna go do that. Like I felt like I didn't have the ability to just like say it and go and do it, and like someone was like, Justin, what are you doing? What are you doing? Nobody did that. They were excited. They wanted to help me. Once I voiced like what I wanted to do, people were like, ooh, I can connect you with this person, and I know this person, and then now all of a sudden there's new opportunities opening up for me to like say yes or no to. So like be your own best you are your own best advocate. And then two, I think I know we're all type A, we're overachievers, that is like everybody that I work with. I think in my like analyst consultant years, I just wish I also realized like life is really important too. So like protect your own well-being. Your leadership, if they're good or bad, they might not always be looking out for you from that aspect. So like find the people that will help you look out for that. It is okay to take your PTO. It is okay to set some boundaries. If there's a fire drill, then you got to do it. But like try to set some of that for yourself, because if you don't, nobody else will.
Do you want everyone to answer this question? So, Rakesh?
Sure. I think I wouldn't change anything. Like I'll do exactly.
You did it right.
I'll do exactly the way I did. And the reason I say so because not that everything was perfect, but I think the way I learned things were hard, but that's what makes it fun. Okay? So lean into your strength. But if I have to give you a framework, like if I go 20 years back, and what would I re-emphasize? Like what would I really focus? So I'll say I call it RRS. So R is, believe it or not, consulting. I call it. It's not a technology business. It's not a strategy business. It's a relationship business. Honestly, it's like 70% of your success literally depends on what kind of a relationship you build with your client, with your colleagues, with your manager. Literally that plays much bigger role than what you know and how deep you know those things. And I would even say almost 80%. Because people like to work with the people they like. And I'm not saying you have to do unnatural things to be liked, but you have to think it through. So I do, whenever I'm interacting with a client and colleagues, for example, in Salesforce, in the last 2 weeks I've been to 3 different cities like New York, Chicago, San Francisco, and I've probably met around 20 people. And one of the things I always try to, this is just my personal, I'm sharing my secret, is I always try to remember person not by just the name, but what is the center of life for that person, okay? And that keeps me like remembering that person more than the name. I said, I keep forgetting the name. But if somebody, I would always ask, what do you do over the weekend? Like, if you have unlimited money, what are you going to do? So, some, they have like a dog center of their life. They have, some of them have game center of their life, right? And sometimes they have more than two, kids center of their life. And I like to remember them by that, okay? Who they are, like, what would they really do? Not with their title and what the is. So first thing I would say, always build relationships. It's not hard. You can ask people questions. No, it doesn't mean that what they like is what I also like, right? But I do remember that this is what this person likes. This is what excites this person, right? And every time you have the conversation with them on what they like, all of a sudden they will like you. so that's what I'm saying. It's not that you have to do anything unnatural, but you just need to know at a deeper level. I call it connection beyond transaction. Okay, so that's number one. Build a relationship. As the next one is R, is be resourceful. Like people will come to you, okay? 9 out of 10 times you may not have the answer. And that's being a consultant, you have to always say yes and, right? Not that I don't know, but you have to say yes, but I can find out, I don't know right now, but I can. So, because the more you say yes and, the more they will come repeatedly back to you, okay? And you can figure it out, even if you're not an expert, you can find an expert, right? You will find all the networks, the connection. You are an organization, not on an island. So that's the second thing. Be resourceful, right? Try to be like super helpful to them, even if it's not your project or your area of expertise, or anything. But they're gonna remember. You all of a sudden you become like their go-to person because you always get the problem solved. And that's the last one. The S is the solutions. Like obviously we all exist in consulting to solve some problem. If there's no problem, none of us are needed, right? So you have to figure out like what are the best solutions, and you start building, I think, like a muscle of wisdom, right, around the solutions. So they would come to you, even your colleagues will come to you as we start building those solutions. Okay, if this happens, then this is how I can navigate it. If this happens, this is the package which can be applied, right? So if you focus on those three things in the same proportion, if you don't remember anything, remember the relationship.
I definitely will. And yeah, that'll be the one I remember the most. Can you last another one, Charles?
Yeah, I would say put yourself in uncomfortable situations. I think in college, when it came to, hey, who wants to pull up Excel and walk through this thing, or like show their screen on PowerPoint, stuff like that, I would always stay quiet because I didn't know how to use any of that. I actually came into consulting not knowing Excel at all. And I quickly realized if you stay quiet, you don't speak up, you don't put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, you're just leaving yourself to the aggregate, right? I was on staff on my first project, my manager was like, hey, are you ready to present this Excel? I'm like, I have no idea how to use Excel. Question why he staffed me on that project really quick. But he made it his goal to teach me. Yeah, he made it his goal to teach me Excel, and by week 4, I was getting used to it. By 2 months into the project, I wasn't using my mouse anymore, right? Also, a lot of people come to consulting thinking, oh, I need to know all this framework stuff. I need to have an answer for everything. In reality, I'm still questioning sometimes what I'm doing, right? So as long as you have that mindset of one, putting yourself in that uncomfortable position, but then being able to ask those questions to dig yourself out of those situations, you'll quickly find out that I'm a subject matter expert at this, and now I can talk with everybody else. And it also goes back to that imposter syndrome, that goes away, right? And you have that confidence of, I think for me, the turning point from analyst to consultant was, I was sitting in Jacksonville, I was working on a Visio, and for all of you that don't know Visio is just process flow program that acts really weird. And I remember sitting in the room with one of the client's VPs, and we were building a process flow on the screen. Again, I have no idea how to use Visio. He's English, so you can only imagine in English voicing, mate, I'm talking about that line right there, mate, right there. And then quickly just sat there, and I'm just like, it's just a lot. And that, for me, that was like the turning point. Because all of a sudden, you just saw me shifting from freaking out to now being able to put my thoughts together and build out that process flow in that call right there. And then my manager comes up to me afterwards and says, what happened? And I'm like, I had a moment of clarity. And everything kind of just flowed after that. And so, again, I go back to just put yourself in those uncomfortable situations. And if you're ever feeling too comfortable, you're doing something wrong. Yeah.
Thank you. That was like an amazing note to end our discussion on. So I would like everyone to give all our panelists a round of applause. They've genuinely been very generous with their time and transparency fits 20 seconds at the top of your head. So yes, yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. It's light and fast. So Priya, best AI tool right now.
Claude.
Claude, okay. Josephine, client facing or back end strategy work?
Back end.
It's okay. Alejandro, AI replacing consultants, yes or no? No, okay. Rakesh, Big Four or boutique?
Boutique.
Boutique, okay.
Especially if you're starting.
Josephine, most overrated consulting buzzword.
There's so many. Let's put a pin in it.
Okay. Priya, travel every week or fully remote?
I'm hybrid. I've been remote for
Okay.
most of the time. I would say traveling was super fun, but it gets really tiring really quickly,
Yeah.
especially when you still have to get the same amount of work done and you're going on different flights all the time. So be cautious. I'm very grateful to have a hybrid role.
Okay, and Rakesh, favorite airport?
Fun fact, I've been to 112.
What? That's great.
And counting.
Wow.
So I would say Munich to Germany.
So one in Germany? Okay, so I knew that question was meant for you. Hey, thank you guys so much. I would like to pass it over to Isha to close it out.
Before we open it up to you guys, again, round of applause for and opening the floor to you guys.
Yeah, so firstly, just want to thank you guys for coming in again. And then also, I remember Rakesh, you were saying earlier that you saw that AI has taken all the busy work, right? And like how that could be a good thing for like people coming into it. I just wanted to like see like what you thought about. My perspective was that like the people that are coming in like interns and stuff, they do that busy work to learn, and then like that's how they get the experience for the next role in which they like come in as a full-time employee or something like that. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on like my perspective, like, and that's why like maybe people say like the job market is so bad because that busy work role is gone. So then like now instead of hiring 10 people to do the busy work that can get experience and move into the higher roles, it's only one person that is very technically advanced and can move into that role. So
Yeah, no, I agree, but then that 1% role was always many, like unfilled. So now we have, so the advantage is that, so keep in mind what I call is, we are all of a sudden shifted, in November 2022 onward, in doers economy, okay? Doers economy. So what differentiates you is not what you know, what differentiates you what you do, right? And because the knowledge is kind of commodity and the playing field is there out for everybody. So you have to think it through that, how do I create more value, right? It doesn't matter, that's what I'm saying, those were the low value add tasks, right? Repeatable low value add boring tasks, and they are the ones which are going away. But now what I'm going to do is really exciting work, and the best thing is, you and I may get the same job to do, and you might be as efficient as I am, even after 20 years, right? So that's the use, right? Like, we don't have to necessarily train somebody for 10 years to get the output, which earlier would take 10 years, right? By going through these 1 level, 2 level, 3 level, right? So that is super exciting, and there is no shortage of these doers. Like, there's a huge demand for it. Even there will be many more companies will be formed, right? Like earlier it was like the good companies you can count on one hand or two hands. My prediction is multiply by 100. Many of you will be opening a lot of companies which will, have a lot of because the whole thought process has to be shifted now. End of the day, it's like who can be in doing it better, quicker, faster, right? So it's very exciting.
But I just want to add on to that question, somehow it's the same question, but so do you think that since they'll be given the opportunity, could it be think like strategic decision making. Do you think like they'll be given the opportunity to maybe like go up the corporate ladder faster than let's say maybe 5 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, anybody want to? I can definitely answer.
I mean, I think that is definitely true, but I think that AI definitely puts a pressure on like cost for companies. And one thing that I think like a lot of people are facing right now is they're not promoting as easily. And I think I don't know. It really depends. I would say like those skills are definitely going to take you very far, but it really just depends on like the economics and things like that. So I can't guarantee. But of course, like you should definitely prioritize those skills. But yeah, it's a crazy landscape. But going back to if you're not growing, then you're in the wrong spot. So
Yeah, and the corporate ladder will collapse in my mind. So think about it. Why am there a corporate ladder? If you go back, like maybe I don't know, 100, 150 years, there was only one industry in the whole world. That was agriculture. There was nothing else to do, right? Then the industrialization happened, right? So in the industrialization time, what happened? Like the skill moved from like earlier agriculture time, like you needed something, you have to go to a person, right? A carpenter will be one in the village, and he's the only one who can make it, right? From hand, it moved to machine. What kind of skill set or mindset you needed for machines? People who are very obedient, who can just do the same thing repeatedly, don't question. That's what the classroom is. So the whole education system was designed, if you think about it, very smartly, by very smart people who never went to school. To even the when we call your grades like A, B, C, that's a grade of steel, right? That's how you classify the steel, what can be done by this steel, right? So the whole mindset was to create these people who can just get things repeatedly done, right? That lasted almost 100 years. Now we are another inflection point, pretty much like what we were earlier. So, so it's gonna shift again, and when what I was trying to answer your question, the reason we had hierarchy, unfortunately, human being requires supervisors. That's like human nature. They require supervisors to function, right? But AI does not. Right? It does not. In fact, in my my onboarding, I'm setting up my department. I have been asked to design a department, and they have asked me how many people and how many AI agents you're gonna need. So that's literally the question. In fact, I have to answer by Friday. So think about it like the AI is I'm gonna probably ask like I need AI agent. I don't need one supervisor. Yeah, I need one person maybe to take care of those AI. So it's gonna fall flat, right? So and very quickly, in the next 5-7 years, you will see the whole landscape will completely change. It will be today it's like 7, 8, 10 levels. It might be 3.
Do you think it's going to be more decentralized then?
It will be more decentralized, yeah. More decentralized, more like less number of people doing much bigger things together.
As a college freshman, what would you say that was your biggest, goal? And what were you scared of? Were you scared that you wouldn't get the position after college, or did you think you always would be good at positions?
Yeah, I can take that one. If you want to jump in. I mean, your biggest goal was like get good grades so I can graduate and get a job. I think that was always like the idea of education being so important was always really important to me. Like I grew up single mom, 3 kids, like oldest in my family, first generation. I was born here. Education, get a good job was like the path. So that was always my goal. But then when I actually got here, I was like, well, I actually want to do things that help me build skills. So doing things like RCC, doing things like internships, doing stuff like that was more than just, go and get a good job. And then to your question of like, was I scared? Yeah, I was like, yeah. Is this gonna be worth it? Is all of this money for school gonna like pay off? I think it has kind of eventually. So I definitely did have fears of like being afraid to like fail, not doing all the classes, not being able to get internships. But I think if you just like put yourself out there, come to things like this, participate in stuff like this, meet
my biggest focus then was just, okay, pass the class, but then there's gonna be a lot of things that go on after that, so, you know, think about what skills you're currently learning that are gonna help you later on in life and what opportunities, if this is a perfect example, so kudos to all of you for showing up today, and, yeah.
So I have a question mainly for Josie. When I like started my career in college, my dad always told me like being the front end of stuff happening, so like you make a difference in the world, or, like whatever project you're working on. You know, like don't really be in the back end. But you talk a lot about like how you do like the back end. Why specifically like being like the back end side?
It's a really good question. It's probably just my role right now. I'm in internal kind of like creative, so I am in government consulting, but I'm in internal roles right now, helping the firm think through like how we're gonna approach different capabilities, how we're bringing services to market, so like some of the go-to-market strategy as well, but focus more on workforce capabilities and services, and then also community and equity. So looking at like what does that mean in the market, and I think just like as a strategy practitioner, I've done it on the client side. It's very fulfilling, but it is also very cool to be able to influence what happens for a company longer term on the inside. So like I get to see, like with the client, you go, you implement, and then you're out, right? Maybe a couple years, maybe a year, and who knows what happens to that afterwards. But I feel like what I'm doing on the back end, I'm gonna still be here. I'm gonna see what happens once we build our strategy and then implement it in 3 years. I will see the outcomes of that. So I like getting to see not just one part of it, but the whole thing from beginning to end. But what your dad says about like impact and being at the front end, that is not wrong at all. I think there's pros and cons to both sides. It's probably just like where I am in my career currently, manager at this level, getting exposure to like senior leadership in the firm, and being in the back end allows me to do that. So
That is true. So we like to see like long term aspects.
yeah.
I think my follow-up question is like, so what would you say the pros and cons are for client facing positions?
Client facing, I mean, Alejandro touched on this before, it puts you in uncomfortable situations. You do not know what is going to happen in a client meeting, right? You are going in prepared, you're planning, you kind of like have a sense of what they like, what they don't like, do they like more data, do they like more information, do they want some of the chit chat, do they want me to, you know, figure out what's their center of life? But you really don't know. You're gonna walk in, you're gonna show them something, they'll love it, they'll hate it, they'll always have comments, they'll always have feedback, and most of the time you are like trying to figure out what do they want. Like I don't know what they want. You can try to throw something at the wall, maybe it sticks, maybe it doesn't. So that's such a good learning opportunity, right? Sometimes it can be a really hard conversation when they don't like something, but you do learn on the spot skills of like, okay, how do I take this negative feedback and turn it into like a positive conversation? How do I build good rapport with the client, even though they don't really love the tool that we built? And then when you turn that relationship around, like how much more fulfilling is that? So that's like the pros and cons, I guess, of it. You get to learn really quickly in like different situations. And I remember as an analyst, all I wanted was to get in front of clients. All I wanted. I was like, I want to lead this client meeting. I want to do like, I just want to be in front of clients and I want to talk to them and help them because that was my perspective of like, oh, consulting, you should be working with clients, right? And then when I actually got the opportunity, I was like, oh, this is like really hard. Just like, I'm not really sure. But that's why you have like your managers, your leaders there to support you. So I think it is like a very good learning opportunity. And some clients you become like really great friends with, and you know, you become really close and working partners. So yeah.
We have time for one more question, so one more. You go.
Alright, thanks. No, so
No, go ahead.
so my question was, so I've been reading up and like it's pretty apparent that clients are spending less nowadays, whether that be because AI is just really good, the economy is just bad. I'm not really too sure, but I was just wondering how you navigate if you're in like a situation where a client is spending less. How do you navigate that whole situation? Like, what are some of the do's and don'ts? And like, you know, just like kind of.
I can touch on this a little bit. So a lot of the work that I do is basically finding new AI transformation opportunities for clients, right? So a lot of the work that I do, we meet with like our lead client partners on specific accounts and things like that, and we basically come to them with problems that they're not even thinking about, right? Like I'll just do a bunch of market research and like understand what the client is thinking. So bringing to their attention like something that maybe they haven't even thought of, right? Like, oh, you know, talking about maybe their competitors and saying like, for example, I've been working with a lot of banks recently, and I've been saying, okay, these banks are doing this, these are your competitors, there's an opportunity for you to do this, like, and I think literally this week I was working on a whole like deck which was a perspective on don't just focus on cost cutting, you should also focus on building your revenue with AI, right? So I would say that's literally exactly what my team does, is finding new opportunities. And it's not that, you know, it's made up and they don't exist. It's just kind of like, you know, taking that extra time to think about the problems that they don't have the time to, and making it easier for them to solve, and giving them the resources to be able to solve it.
Yeah. So just to add to that, think about it like the size of the pie, right? And everybody has a piece of it. And you're saying if the size itself is decreasing, if the whole pie is decreasing, that's a problem. That's what I was saying earlier, that if the demand is decreasing, if they don't need more motorcycles, then it's an economic problem. Everybody is getting affected, not you. But in the pie, everybody has share, right? And I have a real life example. Like my last client was really on the cost cutting. Like last 3 years, they cut $7 billion, and it's not a secret. Basically, they rolled it to Wall Street. So they have been all, you know, mostly the cost cutting measure. So the pie was shrinking, but we were still growing. Why? Because we know exactly what their motive is. Their now motive is to do things more efficient, less burden, you know. So we weaponize that. Like we basically took it and we said, hey, I know that you spend $100 million with Accenture. I can do into 70 million, right? And because here are the things which, you know, the time has changed. And you signed this contract 2 years ago, AI wasn't there. Now there's more efficient way of doing it. So we proactively went, right? And grew ourselves. We grew actually, when they cut down their costs, we grew at least 40-50%. So the point is that you still can help your client to achieve their goal, and in the process you will grow, right? So whenever there is some threat, there is also an opportunity, you know, in it. So you have to look to that. I also want to say one thing to your question, that has anybody seen Formula 1 movie, F1? Excellent. So I want to make you understand the front end and back end. The whole pit crew is a back end. That doesn't mean their work is less important, because it's only one person can be on the track. But if you think how big the, you know, it takes to kind of make that one person and everything super successful. So the impact will be still the same, no matter where you're working. Right? It's like a huge team, especially in consulting. It's a huge. I've done a variety of roles. I was like practicing with. Right? That role made me focus on people, my people, than the client. Right? How are they getting upskill? I need to hire from the colleges, etc. Right? So how I make sure that their learning curve is short, things like that. So that, to some degree, you can say back end work, but I knew that this is pretty important to, you know. So this doesn't really matter. That's what I want to say. It's like where you are, but you still are creating that impact.
Hey everyone, thank you for your time once again. My name is Abhi. I'm a sophomore studying finance here at the business school. So, you know, just going through recruitment and that whole process and talking about like the decentralization of the ladder and just the job market as a whole, how would you guys suggest someone like me, like all the sophomores here, you know, going peak recruiting or juniors too even, to navigate this like new foreign landscape as you mentioned? And then part 2 to that question is, have you guys taken like the CPA, any what was it called? Industry specific certification tests, and how's that process like for you guys if you have done so?
To answer your second question, so I've taken the SIE Series 7 and ACAMS, which is kind of a specialized in money laundering. With ACAMS specifically, I needed it. This was while I was an analyst, and I needed it because a client was requiring it, and it all had to be done within 2 took the SIE 07 before Accenture while I was interning, and then I took the ACAMS while I was at Accenture for the project I got staffed on. during that time.
So is there any like age requirement to taking these tests, or like is there any like?
I don't. I mean, I think you just have to be over 18, I believe. But I'm sure if you looked into it, you could find the age requirement, and you know, you could just pay for it out of pocket. If you want to take any of these ACAMS, I know carries a bunch of weight when it comes to being consulting on the money laundering industry. And the SIE Series 7 looks good because they know you have a basic understanding of how markets work.
Yeah. And just to add to, like, if you want to become more attractive for the job, I'll give 3 practical tips. Which basically, number one, make sure you have a lot of digital presence. Think about it like how people are recruiting now. They're not recruiting by, the interviews. The first, screening is happening through AI, right? I mean, I was a practice leader, and earlier I would just call somebody and say, hey, this is my friend's daughter, give her internship, and things would work. Now, nobody has any control. Like, it's basically goes through the AI, in IBM, and AI is what is screening, and nobody has any influence on that, right? Unless you pass that round, there's nothing. Like, all I can do is say, coach you a little bit, right? Now, the coaching is this, that if you have no presence, it's gonna, it wouldn't even recognize you, right? And it's such an easy thing to do, right? Make your, be on LinkedIn, comment on people's, thing, follow the people, who you want to become. There is, in this world, there's 2-3 people already there who you want to become. So please do that extensively and more important than your academic class. The second thing is, nowadays we are not only asking what you learn, but we are asking what you unlearn. Because that is the bigger challenge. The bigger challenge is not that, how